What's happening, connoisseurs? It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Saturday, happy Saturday, February 22nd. Hope you're doing well. In this video, we're going to do another rapid fire news update, this time for the period February 15th to the 21st. And again, it's not a deep dive detail, it's just a high level overview in case you missed it. There was a lot going on this week. Initially, when I started doing the video, prepping for it, I was like, oh, I think it was a kind of a quiet week, but it was actually the opposite. And it's crazy, trying to factor in all of the news. I try to cherry pick the most important ones, but I could easily make these videos, 30 minutes to an hour long, but I try to keep it around 15 minutes. But we'll jump right to it. There's a lot to cover. Before we do, make sure to smash the like, all that good stuff. You can tick the bell to be notified on any future content. As always, it's not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. And you can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. Handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward and getting a ton of followers over there. So I really appreciate it. So we'll jump into some studies here and more evidence that this is medicine of the future. Study finds that cannabinoids hold significant potential for preventing and treating brain diseases, as reported by the MJ Herald. So we're really starting to understand why big alcohol, tobacco, pharma is so, this is a wonder of a plant, right? It's medicine. It's a healthier alternative to smoking and alcohol. It's also, creating just imagine once we hit this with AI and we get rescheduling and all these different clinical trials and studies, we can, essentially just run rampant just with the amount of, human brain power once we get rescheduling and open up, research. Then we hit it with AI, and I think there's going to be some major scientific breakthroughs. And as you can see, you can make clothes out of it, you can make food out of it, right? It's medicine, while alcohol and tobacco are poison. Tobacco alone, I think, kills almost 500,000 people in the U.S. So now we understand why they're trying so hard to keep this industry at bay, so that they can catch up and get their paws all over it, right? Also, CBD disrupts bacterial cell walls, showing potential as an antibiotic alternative. So again, big pharma is shaken in the knees. THCV and CBD, mucoadhesive, I think it's pronounced, strips linked to weight loss and metabolic benefits, study finds. So again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Imagine once we get the blockade down, from Schedule 1, it goes to a Schedule 3. That opens up tons of research and studies that we can do. And then, like I said, hit it with AI. I think we're in for a massive scientific breakthrough over the next 5 to 10 years. Also, another study finds that patients with cancer who use medical MJ report significant improvements in symptoms, but affordability is an issue. And as we know, cannabis is actually right up there. It's saying that it's better to manage pain than opioids. But again, yeah, I used to work for a pharmaceutical company, and they were a part of the opioid crisis. They make a lot of money off of that, right? Billions and billions of dollars. Some were fined billions just in a fine. But like I said, worked for a pharmaceutical company, and they basically were part of that, and they were all they could talk about. They were so focused on CBD and cannabinoids for about 2 years straight. That's all they could talk about, right? So again, big pharma is coming in a big way. No pun intended. Virginia's recreational legalization bill faces likely veto despite legislative progress. So we continue to see, state by state. I think it's 24 states that are legal at the recreational level now in the U.S. So almost half of the U.S. is legal recreationally, and it's just a matter of when, not if. Incredibly bullish how Canada's biggest MJ players are conquering Europe. And you have to really think about this, right? Like the names in the U.S., these companies in the U.S., they only are focusing on a select few states. Some really only focusing on like one or two, where, you get, I think like Green Thumb has operations in 14 different states. But you have to think about it. Like Cureleaf has operations in Canada. They purchased Northern Green Canada, so they're an LP now. They're also an MSO, and they also have a big footprint in Europe as well. So Cureleaf, I would say, is the closest to a Canadian producer, where they have such a massive global footprint, and you can see that in their financials, right? It's very reminiscent of a Canadian operator. And it's because they're focusing on international, right? They have to pay a lot more debt, take on a lot more debt. There's a lot more cost associated with it, right? And you're going to have your profitability, you're going to be pushing that out essentially, but you're doing it in hopes of becoming a top 3, maybe even, the biggest company in the world, right? And if you can reach that milestone and you can hit that achievement in the long run, just imagine the opportunity here, right? And a lot of these MSOs, like you're going to see, in my opinion, you're going to see this industry treated like tobacco and alcohol, right? And don't think for a second that these companies in Canada won't be able to sell in the US and vice versa, right? It's going to be an open market, just like alcohol and tobacco. And anybody who thinks any different, I think, it's a very naive way of thinking. Decibel expands their general admission brand's international footprint. So love to see it. I've actually interviewed the CEO. So if you haven't seen that, you can check it out. Speaking of CEO interviews, I actually interviewed John Keeber as well, and he's the CEO of Nevis Brands, and they expand their national footprint with the launch of Happy Apple hemp-derived beverages. So this is a multi-$100 million opportunity focusing on hemp-derived products, right? Beverages and edibles. And some CEOs have said that this is a $100 million opportunity. Even Tilray Irwin Simon, he said that if they could sell just regular cannabis infused beverages, that'd be over $1 billion opportunity just in the US alone. So let that sink in for a minute. Also, Trump's pick for top health lawyer thinks MJ is a dangerous and genetically engineered hard drug. So lots of worry still circulating with regards to Trump's picks, but I'm not worried at all. I think, the writing is on the wall. We've got some more information coming shortly here. And I do think that it's going to come from the top down. Obviously, he wants to get rescheduling done. He wants to get banking and potentially even uplisting to the U.S. major exchanges for these MSOs. So he supported Amendment 3, which we've got some more news pertaining to that, both of those, Florida and Trump's stance here in just a moment. Also, Swiss committee approves draft law to legalize and regulate recreational MJ. Switzerland's Social Security and Health Committee has voted 14-9 to approve a draft law to federally regulate the cultivation, production, trade, and consumption of recreational MJ. So again, while Germany is the hotspot right now, Switzerland could become Europe's first fully fledged adult use market by 2026. And again, just adding more growth trajectories for these companies that are already focusing on Europe, right? Think of your Curleafs, your Tilrays, your Auroras, your Canopy Growths of the world, right? These Organogram, like all of these companies have a huge head start, and it's gonna be awesome. Like there's more people in Europe than there is in the United States, right? So the United States being the most important, biggest economy in the world, though, and we're on the cusp of major reform in the U.S., and I do think that rescheduling, bare minimum, and safer banking is more than likely going to be just an absolute done deal in this year, if not in 2026 at the latest. Also, a new poll finds that 67% of Florida voters support legalizing MJ, including 55% of Republicans. As we know, we were just a few percent short in November with Amendment 3, and we'll see if that gets approved in the 2026 ballot. New Texas bill would legalize MJ for everyone 21 and older. A bill to legalize MJ for everyone 21 and older was introduced today in the Texas, and this was February 18th, in the Texas House of Representatives by State Rep. John Busey, who's a Democrat by the looks of it. So we'll see what happens there. We'll be keeping close tabs on it. I know quite a bit of people in Texas have been saying that, that it's just hemp-derived products running rampant, and you can't go into a gas station or convenience store without finding, tons of hemp-derived beverages and edibles. So, this loophole is a little ridiculous when you think about it, but, ultimately I think we'll get to a point where it'll be regulated the same, just like Canada, right? Hemp and cannabis are regulated the same. The rapid collapse of MedMen co-founders' latest MJ venture. So Megabud was their latest foray into the legal MJ industry by former MedMen Enterprise co-founders Adam Bierman and Andrew Maudlin. It rapidly collapsed, though, amid lawsuits alleging unpaid bills and a dispute with a business partner, court records and public licensing information show. So I think, they might as well just, throw in the towel and hang up their skates and just call it a day, call it a forever tap out, I guess, if you say, because you're just not you're just not doing anything productive here. You're only hurting yourself and others. So speaking of tapping out, WWE reportedly removes MJ from the banned substances list as more leagues and different sports venues and sport what do you want to call it, sport organizations continue to take this progressive approach, right? And again, the writing is on the wall. You wouldn't be seeing all of this happening behind the scenes if there wasn't a major, shift happening in the U.S., right, and around the world. And we're seeing that. We're almost 7 years legal here in Canada, and Switzerland. There's some more information coming with regards to France, and Costa Rica approves medical MJ sales in major healthcare shifts. So again, look at what's happening. Don't just look at share prices, right? Look at it from a logic and data perspective, and you can see that this is there's no putting this genie back in the bottle is essentially, right. This is something that is bigger than us. This is something that, like I said, it's not just a healthier alternative to alcohol and tobacco. This is medicine. This is helping people's lives, and whether it's terminally ill or epilepsy or something like that, right. These There's no stopping this train, right? The train has already left the station. And look at this. Canada, December sales breaks monthly MJ sale record with 499 million Canadian, almost $500 million, bringing the total of 2024 sales to over $5 billion Canadian. There was more MJ sold legally in December than any other month prior in Canada, according to Statistics Canada release. And for some context, the US legal MJ sales top 2 billion in January. So in January 2025, legal MJ states collectively generated over 2 billion in sales. That was just in January of this year. And so just imagine once the whole US is legalized, right? We're talking tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars for some of these companies, right? And it's going to be a huge cash flowing segment, right? I think it was Cureleaf, current CEO and founder, Boris Jordan, he said that he believes if it wasn't for 280E, he said that Curaleaf would probably already be paying a dividend to investors. Let that sink in for a moment. And he said that he thinks that there's going to be tons of companies in the MJ space offering dividends. He thinks this is going to be a highly cash flowing business in this sector. So Trump confirms he's appointing former drug prisoner he freed as new pardon czar. So again, writing is on the wall, right? Why would he be doing all of this? And he's gonna be doing this internationally, and I think he's gonna have all the more reason in the world to be supporting people here. Well, I'm in Canada, but his own citizens, people that are affected by this, right? People who are incarcerated, or veterans who are looking for some sort of relief. People should be able to make their own decision, right? Breaking: Mitch McConnell, and this was reported by Alex Jones, announces he will not seek re-election in 2026. And I think I speak for everybody when I say, good riddance, Mitchy boy, because we do not care. We do not want you back. It wouldn't matter if he seeked re-election or not. I can't see him ever getting re-elected. But this man should actually, in my opinion, be investigated. The guy makes like just under 200 grand a year. And I think last time I checked, he was worth like 30 or $50 million or something like that. So in my opinion, he should be investigated, and potentially whatever's found there could be sending him to prison. And in my opinion, these career politicians who, make 100 to 200 grand a year, and like Nancy Pelosi worth over 200 million, like it's just absolutely disgusting. These people need to go to prison. French lawmakers push MJ legalization plan despite opposition. So a state-run agency would control the growing and selling of recreational MJ, but the proposal faces a tough fight. So again, you're seeing all of this momentum around the world, right? We also have earnings season coming up here next week. So next week, you got your big ones. So you have Green Thumb on the 26th, Trulieve the day after, and the 27th, Toronto as well. You got Cureleaf on March 3rd, Vireo Growth, MariMed, AYR. So like I said, going to be seeing earnings season kickoff here in a big way. Also, Advisor Shares announces that Cannara Biotech has been added to the YOLO Pure MJ ETF. So if you've never heard of this company, I've already interviewed the CFO multiple times, and I'll have to try to get Nick back on at some point, the CFO, and would like to get the CEO on it as well. But we're very bullish on Cannara here at Pow Group, and the stock performance has been absolutely amazing. You should check out the review I did of the recent financials. They were absolutely stellar. And shout out to Cannara. They're finally making big waves. They're really starting to garner a lot of attention. Trulieve to open dispensary in Columbus, Ohio, as it continues its retail footprint growth. We have Good Supply, which is a brand from Tilray. They introduced new Monsters resin vapes and full spectrum highs. So 1.5 gram and 2 gram vape, 2 gram vapes. We had a huge pop in the stock as well off the low of the day on Friday. Yesterday it was up at the close just in a matter of minutes. It was up from the low of the day to the high of the day, broke over $1 after hitting like 82 cents, and it was up about 25% off the low. There was talks that it could be related to that news. This came out on the 20th, so it definitely wasn't this. They talked about the Canadian sales being $500 million potentially, but I don't think that was it either. We'll see if there's someone knows something, if that's coming down the pipe, but It could be some people were talking about options expiry. Um, yeah, there's no real concrete reason, but you have to remember, like it's under $1, right? I'm if you're bullish as I am on Tilray long term in the sector, I don't think Tilray is going anywhere, and under $1 is a pretty decent steal and deal in my opinion. So steal of a deal. But we'll see what happens. We'll see next week if we get any kind of news. But yeah, it's going to be something to watch for sure. Also, High Tide recognized as top 50 company by the TSX Venture Exchange for the second consecutive year. So very bullish on High Tide. I own a lot of it in my portfolio. I'm actually going to be looking to add to that position, but cannot say enough good things about High Tide. Also, IIPR beats fourth quarter revenue estimates. If you haven't seen that, you can check it out. And a new poll shows that 68% of likely voters in Pennsylvania, including most Republicans, support MJ legalization. And the GOP senator calls MJ prohibition a disaster, signaling support for treating MJ like alcohol and tobacco. I could not agree more. I think this is ultimately where we're going to end up. Also, Mr. Buffett has taken a position in Constellation Brands. You can see here he now holds over 5.624 million shares of Constellation Brands, which is valued at just under $1 billion here at the moment, 989.7 million US dollars. So there's been a lot of speculation that this could be indirectly into Canopy Growth. I personally think it's probably more to do with that than it is alcohol, because alcohol has been on the downtrend where MJ has been on the up and up. Unless it's craft beer. Craft beer is a huge growth segment, I think, in the beverage sector. That's why I really like Tilray so much. They're focused in, they have a lot of great adjacencies to the MJ industry that they can eventually infuse with MJ. Like, think of the 420 Pale Ale, the Sweetwater 420, and then the Highball Energy. There's so many different Runners High, like there's so many different things, energy drinks that they can infuse with eventually, right? So there's so much opportunity here. It's not even funny. And then the hemp derived beverages, like I said, sky's the limit here. Also, Aurora MJ expands medical MJ pastilles offering in Australia. So as we know, this company has made a huge pivot recently. They're focusing more on international and medical, and that is really starting to show. Their recent earnings report absolutely crushed earnings estimates, and check out my video for the review on that. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're not paying excise taxes, right? But my daughter in the background, she was playing. I'm looking after her at the moment, and looks like I think she's getting hungry. So I'm going to go tend to her. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Let me know what you think of this news in the comment section. We'll continue the conversation there. It's Rod with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us in the pursuit of wealth, and we'll catch you on the next video.